Welcome back to another episode of DIY IT. This is episode 3. We're going to dive into the power of IT service management today. Again, we have a round of guests. Do you want to introduce yourselves this time?
Absolutely.
Since I did it last time?
Yeah. I'm Duane Taylor. I'm a vCIO at MIS Solutions.
Adam Ringland, Operations Manager at MIS Solutions.
Nate Jewett, Operations Manager, MIS Solutions.
You're the Operations Manager too, are you?
Yep,
You're a vCIO, buddy.
I am.
So
Today I am.
no. Nate's actually one of our other vCIOs, so we put the vCIOs across from each other so they could battle it out.
He's trying to take my spot.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so we can't have that.
No.
So we're already not following standards, so that's good. We're going to be talking about standards today.
Lots of
and you
editing.
guys have just completely just blown the entire podcast, so I love that. So
Lots of editing.
thanks again for joining us today. I'm Jason Null, the Vice President of MIS Solutions. So let's dive in today, and let's talk about ITSM. And we can throw up a little definition for you guys too,
Sure.
but definition of ITSM is it's basically information technology service management, and it's the activity that we do to manage IT for our partners in the SMB space. So let's talk about how ITSM and how our IT management can help streamline operations and improve efficiencies for our partners. What do you guys think? How do we do that?
I think it all starts with these two and their department being proactive in the face.
And that's vCIO and this is vCIO
Good one.
operations.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yeah, it starts with the VCIO department working hand in hand with our partners, and basically formulating their business plan and getting feedback from them, formulating it from that, and based upon their spending needs and spending what they can, and then they work hand in hand and figure it out. Go ahead.
And to expand upon that, I think one of the things that we help the businesses do is allow them to focus on what they do as a company and what they do to generate their revenue, so we can take off the load of the IT concerns, all of those IT jobs and all the maintenance and all those things, so that they can focus on what they're good at and let us do what we're good at, which allows them to be more efficient and streamlined and raise more money.
Kind of like what we talked about in the first episode, where you've got a person that you hired for the specific task,
Right.
and they are now pseudo IT, and then
And
it
we
just ends up
see that
getting messy.
we see that all the time, where they have, there's 5 people that start, and someone's, like you said, pseudo good at IT, and then the next thing you know, they're trying to create user account. Then they get out of their realm. And then they just kind of get buried. But then they're not doing the job you originally hired them to do, which was accounts receivable,
Right.
which is collect money.
Yeah.
Right.
Where's all our money at now?
Well, and they're not managing IT at all.
No,
they're just doing it.
They're just handling it.
Correct. Yep.
So managing is, that encompasses everything from, proactive, reactive, all the back end work that needs to happen to keep everything going. One of the things that we see a lot is those small businesses where it's hard to have one person doing 3 roles when they were hired to do one. So
Correct.
we try to go in and explain to partners that, okay, how much do you spend on IT of your time, and how would that affect you to get your 20 hours a week back?
Mm-hmm.
And then we do the comparison and the analysis, and then that's how we kind of get in the door with Jimmy needs to get back to collecting AR,
Right.
and we can handle your IT for a fraction of what you were paying Jimmy.
Yeah. Well, and Jimmy's now actually doing the job you hired.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you weren't even really paying him. You just weren't even getting out of him what you actually hired him to do.
And it's hard to quantify
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It is, because you're like, well, it's just 20 hours a week, or it's 5 hours a week, or sometimes it's no hours a week. At the end of the day, I'm like, it's hours a month.
Well, and having these standards that we're helping put in place and set to make sure everything's good. We've talked about in the past with the infrastructures, right? End to end. Having the ability to manage it end to end, make sure that you're using the right firewalls again, the right switching, the right WAPs, having the right security in place, running Windows updates, managing that all so you have a better overall customer satisfaction, right?
It goes back to, just because it's not broke doesn't mean it's not working either.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that it's working as efficiently as it could.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen over time, people don't want to hire that IT person because they're going to be X amount of dollars for a full-time person, right? And for us to come in, it's usually half that, right?
And even sometimes then they're like, oh, I don't know, that seems expensive. And then it's like, well, you're also getting the 20 hours
From
of this
Jimmy,
person's
right,
back that you're
right.
paying him. He's not IT anymore.
Correct, yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, it
and they're like,
balances
oh,
out.
that's valid.
And all of a sudden, now your business is becoming streamlined. You have all these standards that we're like aligning your business into, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can do a perfect example of one that we've helped. I mean, we help them all, but one that we've really helped streamline is a recent partner that we onboarded back in January. And, you know, the CEO of this company, it's a multi-million-dollar company, has a CFO, and then they have a person who was like AP, and they were all kind of ordering laptops from Best Buy, and they were sending them to mom, and mom was packaging them, and they were losing inventory. And we took all that. We didn't take all that away from them. We streamlined that, and we handled that process. Now the CEO can run the company, not worry about an $800 laptop from Best Buy.
Yep. Well, and that comes into all the frameworks that we kind of try to follow, right? COBIT, it's ITIL, all these frameworks come together to help us align businesses, right? There's a framework out there that's been defined to help, you know, this is a law office and this is how the framework should look. And now a lot of times it's the same across a lot of different industries. They all start with a core here, but then there's different pieces. We get into HIPAA compliance and different other areas where they are required to have this. We have PCI here, HIPAA there, and then, I mean, we've heard every acronym there is out there for some type of security standards.
And you can equate it to the game plans varies per vertical.
It does.
But the end result is
Same.
What's the end result in the game? Execution.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
So if you can put that together, we may have the same game plan overall to win.
Right.
But each vertical has its own little game plan.
And what I thought was cool was, like, you know, some of the things that we're talking about today, they were created and kind of just talked about very recently. And these are all things that we've been doing for our partners for years now. So that was like, oh, that's cool. We're tailor making, you know, our experience to their industry, to their specific business model, and it was cool to see that.
And the service management piece also, I believe that, I'm a firm believer that when corporate IT can get stagnant. MSPs like ourselves, we're handling multiple verticals, we're handling multiple different areas, and when you can get stagnant if you have just one person handling your IT environment versus a crew of people that are dealing with the latest and greatest technologies, not worrying about just putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Yep, you got multiple sets of eyes that they're constantly working in different fields, different environments. They're like, oh, that's a great idea. This could work over here.
Right. I mean, that's huge.
Because if you have the one guy in corporate IT doing it, you better hope he's just constantly reading Reddit instead of watching YouTube after his first 2 hours of the day.
You better hope he's still interested.
Correct.
Right.
Well, and there's so much out there to stay on top of.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the Cyber International Security Association that we get, the CISA emails, right? I remember getting those emails years ago. We get like one a week maybe. I mean, nowadays we get like 50 a day. Here's all the vulnerabilities in Firefox. Here's all the vulnerabilities in this product, and it's a constant on, you know, and that's where we're having to have all of our standards follow these best practices. So yeah, these are security holes, but having those best practices helps prevent firewalls being open to allow exploits into this web server, right? And making sure the passwords are secure and that things don't have root access to everything.
And what's cool too, but you know, what I think sometimes makes us different from some of the other MSPs in the industry is, you know, we do have the vCIO office. They can work with the end user, their point of contact for each partner, and determine the framework that works best for them.
The game plan.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
The roadmap.
And yes, we're tailoring the framework.
Right.
Okay, we need all of it.
Right.
You need a couple pieces of it, but you know, yeah, you guys being able to get in there and build that relationship right off the jump.
It's also helpful with like the operations as well. When when you have like our pet teams, you know, we go in, they're working with the same people. They know the guys that they're going to be working with.
Absolutely.
Versus talking to some dude in Texas that they might
Right.
never get to see.
And that's what our pet teams do. Our partner experience teams. They were designed to be more intimate with our partners versus just working out of a pile. And I say that all the time. You don't call here and speak to 5 different people over 5 different days about your same problem. These pet teams are designed to be able to say, wait a minute, Billy called in. This is the second time they've called this.
Hey, you guys have talked to Billy too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What
When
the
you're working
heck?
out of a pile or you're calling some call center, they're not able to put 2 and 2 together.
Yep.
And then the end user is not efficient, frustrated, and
That's a good point, because that really brings back that customer satisfaction. It helps keep the customer moving forward, because we're able to identify a reoccurring problem. Because the teams are small enough, they're intimate enough, they're able to understand their customers. They actually know their customers, right? They actually have gone to these people. Most of the time they've met them. And so when they call in, like you guys said, like when Sally calls in, she's talking to, Joe every time. And Joe, or even if it's Daryl, those two are talking to each other, and they know, well, she just called in yesterday for that same problem. Well, that's weird. Well, maybe there's a bigger issue going on than this little thing where you talked a minute ago about it could be 5 tickets later. This has now been going on for 2 weeks.
Right.
Sally is so angry. We're not meeting our SLAs, being able to get her problems solved in an adequate amount of time. She's angry, and then as you guys go in to meet, you're hearing about it, right?
Yeah, we take the brunt of it sometimes.
Yeah, more than the tech. Doesn't mean the techs do take a brunt of it,
Yeah,
but
they do.
you guys get it too. And that's a big piece between you guys and operations, or you and the operations guys, depending on what office Nate's working in today, right?
Does Nate even have an office?
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't
I
decided
know.
yet.
It's on the dock. Yeah.
Hey!
Yes.
Red swing line.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we also put safeguards, are not necessarily safeguards, but I guess you could say it that way, in place here internally to kind of prevent those types of things too. Our ticketing system, we assign the assets to the tickets so that we know, hey,
This problem has occurred
This
15 times on this computer.
let's fix this
Why does this
problem.
hard drive
Yeah.
keep filling up?
That's a good point, to have that kind of stuff and have that telemetry. One of the reasons we went so hardcore in our RMM, right, to be able to manage that stuff, linking it to the hardware, to know that this person has had this Sally again, right?
Right.
She calls in a lot, but she's had this blue screen every day now. Now we're getting that telemetry because the automation is running, the tickets are being opened, she's calling in, and now we're seeing, because the tickets associated with that hardware and that asset, you can see, oh wow, look at this, there's a problem. Maybe she's got bad memory. Maybe the motherboard is bad. Maybe it's time to replace the computer. Oh, look, it is at the 3-year mark.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a difference between break fix and the solution.
Yes.
Correct.
That's a good point right there.
There really is. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of folks out there, competitors or whatever, they're more break fix. We call when you need something. Nate and I are constantly engaging all of our partners and doing, 70 plus question assessments on everything from
hardware,
from the
security,
cloud to the floor, to acceptable usage policies, to how's the wiring. All of these aspects are being addressed every quarter, monthly maybe, as well. But all of that just helps with the IT service management piece.
And then what happens is you guys have that data. You're meeting with them. You've helped them kind of, hey, what's important to you? And then that's when you come back and you say, all right, here operations, let's make this happen. And that's when it rolls downhill. That's when we kind of go ahead and then implement how they want this to look for them.
Very true.
It's not all or nothing, again, depending on size, depending on industry, but I think that's another really good part about us is how well we work together, and, just coming back, say, this is what Susie wants for her company, and this is how we're going to run things. And
that's the benefit of having.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, having managed IT services is a huge benefit to the partner. I mean, for us, we talk about our tool set. We have multiple tool sets, and all those tool sets have checklists. All those checklists have requirements that must be met, from your team to even the vCIO office. I love the tool set you guys use. When you guys discovered that a few years ago, that was cool. To be able to take, and you run this all the time, and I know that you're being newer and starting to run these, but this tool set of yours has a checklist in it, and it's actually going through a compliance checklist with the client, and you're showing them basically what it's
What's
almost
your score?
Yeah,
What
almost
do I
score,
want it
and
to
isn't
be?
it almost a red light, like red, yellow, green?
Yeah. It's
and,
like,
and you're
risk,
right.
needs attention, satisfactory, or
And the client,
acceptable risk.
and the partner can then be like, this is an acceptable risk for now, and it's
Right.
okay, right? Because we can make notes in our system of that. But
Correct.
you're running through that compliance with them, and then that's going on to our auditing tools, right? And so the techs are then fixing things, and you're putting in tickets when you come back, and it's just this constant revolving process.
Yeah, you're going back with your data and you're showing them, hey, what you guys wanted is what we've done for you,
Yeah.
and that just keeps their buy-in.
Or what you want, this is how we're going to get there.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. It's hey, we're partners now. Trust us. This is what we do. We do it well. Back to one of the points you made earlier, and we just need your help. We need your confidence, and let's roll and let us do our thing. And
Yeah,
I love that. Going back to
Yeah.
the first QBR you guys have after an onboarding is getting that feedback and
Yeah.
showing, look what we've already done for you guys. You guys
Absolutely.
trusted us out of the gate. We came together with this, a framework for you, a package for you, and here we're delivering already 3 months in.
It builds
Yeah.
that trust as well.
100%.
Immediately.
And I know that's hard for you because you're like, believe us, you hired us to do this. These steps are going to make it better. And sometimes it's hard to get them to commit to that, and they do, and the success is just
Yeah, I mean,
it shows.
not everybody's the same. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
know,
you have
got
some that are like
you got
more
some
like-
tougher people than you got others, but sometimes it takes me 6 months to get it, or sometimes it just takes time.
Yep.
To say, not told you so, but
Right.
Right. Yeah.
warned you so.
Well,
you know,
and
how about
sometimes-
that?
You really want to say that?
Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't ever say told you so. We may have talked about this in the past.
I saw your little dance you have that you go like, no.
I usually shut the door for that. But,
No, but I mean, like, we've seen partners over time just not want to make steps forward, right?
Right.
And it's because maybe they had an IT firm before, or sometimes they had they got internal IT person,
Or they're just
and they
scared.
just and so they had a bad experience with IT.
Correct.
Right? Because that internal person maybe didn't really know what they were doing, and they were trying to get it done for them, and they failed. Or they had an MSP who just wasn't
Not
really
responsive.
Yeah,
That's the one we get.
Yeah,
most.
the
It's just
non-responsive
they're
is-
non-responsive, and they're just like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I ran into that. You know, then Adam helped a lot with putting a little bit of a bigger hammer down on some of the folks and saying, look, we're going to do this, or you're going to sign. We're not
Responsible
doing
for
it.
yeah.
Correct.
If
Yep.
you won't do two-factor for your infrastructure, we can't be held liable for a
Absolutely.
breach. Yeah.
And I think that's a great approach.
And that's a
because all we're-
standard. It's not
breaking
us. I
that.
mean,
Right.
That's a standard.
That's not an MIS thing.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's helped a lot bringing in the NIST stuff and throwing that out there. Homeland Security's been doing a lot of tours over the last 18 months to 24 years, doing all kinds of seminars, talking about passwords, NIST,
Yep.
cybersecurity, all these things. And I'm constantly getting all these emails, and I'm like, we do all that.
Yep.
I mean, maybe we could talk for Homeland Security. Be a special guest.
That'd be good.
We should. I'm going to go back to Guitar Center because I ran into a guy with the Air Force who was on their cybersecurity team.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go hang out there and see if I can stalk him down and bring him on the podcast.
Yeah. Maybe.
It was kind of neat. He had this cool cybersecurity Air Force patch on. That was kind of neat to see that. Locally we have those resources. I mean, how many times have we actually talked to Homeland Security because of issues going on with security
One of
locally?
our partners were breached, and
right.
Homeland Security
Right.
Yeah,
came in.
yeah.
Like,
So
that's wild. Yeah, it had to do with the bank, and it was like, yep, we're home. We got this.
and it wasn't breached on our side. So
Correct.
let's clarify that.
Yes,
so
that is
There's an HR system
It wasn't
outside
an
of our
internal
control.
breach,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it wasn't internal, but it was a third party system.
Right. Yep.
It was HR, and we see this all the time. I mean, we joke. I get an email once a week for somebody in our office to change their direct deposit, and it's like it'll be like Nate, and Nate's standing next to me, and we're talking as the email comes in, and I love responding to the guy, and I do it every time. I'm always like responding to him like, I just need your social security number, credit card number, and I can process this change for you. And he never emails me back.
Right.
But then he picks another one of our employees and does it to
Well,
sends
they
it
get
to me
the
again.
unemployment claims.
Yeah, well,
I'm
yeah,
like,
we've gotten that.
she's still working here.
Right.
I'm looking at her right now.
Right. I mean, we just had that happen with one of our employees.
Right.
She just answered the door.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
there. one of the things that I like. To
No, the
talk
best
about,
one was, sorry to interrupt you, was when Micah, the president of our company,
he
I
did
got the
unemployment
unemployment claim.
claim,
It came
right.
to me
Yeah.
to approve his unemployment claim. I'm like, I actually report to this man,
Yeah.
and
And he still works here.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't seen him lately. I don't
Right.
know, but just kidding.
But explaining that to people and using these examples to our partners that are a little tougher, thicker skinned, they don't want to make the change. We have one particular partner that just really didn't want to listen to any of our suggestions from a security standpoint, and they got burned.
Yeah.
And every time they got burned, we were allowed to do something we asked to do. Then they got burned again. Then we had to do all of a sudden this huge email migration in one day.
Yep.
But we got it done. And then they got burned, and then two-factor got. So I think he's been burned to where there's nothing left to burn.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how many times
we've gotten through all the security now,
Yeah.
but it was at his expense.
How many times did he have to go back to his insurance
Right.
and try to get the funding back for that? And we see lots of those little hacks. The biggest one now is going after HR and trying to change direct deposits.
Yep.
It's amazing how
It's
many
so
people.
easy.
Yeah.
Because of muscle memory. And those are just all the things. These are just a few things, but we could talk about the benefits of having an MSP all day long.
And what are
because,
those benefits?
Well, we've hit a lot of them. I mean,
Having Duane, that's a benefit, right?
absolutely. Just
Having
ask
that.
me.
Having actually,
His shoulder hurts.
one of the biggest benefits is having an SLA, right? You have something to hold somebody to.
Absolutely.
That's one of the biggest things that we can
It's on
actually.
paper.
It's
Somebody's
right there.
read it at your company and
Right.
signed on about it. So
And the thing I like about our SLAs is everybody looks at them and they're like, well, but our response immediately is, those are just,
we have to have something. on a
we
piece
have to
of
have
paper.
something in there in case this happens. But literally, the majority of our stuff is done well beyond.
So like 98% of the time, our SLAs are
exceeded by 98%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's customer support, right?
Yeah.
And
And
in the
SLA,
end-
service level agreements, for those that
Yep.
might not know what
Yeah.
the acronym is, but yeah, it's basically what holds us accountable to our partners. We say, hey, we're going to do a service. We can do if it's scenario A, you get done in X amount of time. Scenario B, scenario C, yada 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 down the pike. And yeah, if we're consistently failing at that, that's when they can look at us and say, no bueno here. But what's funny is when people start complaining if we don't get something done in maybe 4 hours when they're used to get that being done in 2 hours, and I'm like, whoa, like, okay, time out. I'm sorry that it took an extra 2 hours, but if you really look, we got like 3 more days.
Right. This is actually a D scenario,
Right.
and we are still 18 hours within our SLA.
Yeah.
But it's cool because that just shows you how they're used to that level, right? We're able to supply quick responses. That's why people are like, well, we can't get a hold of our current MSP. We're like, we'll pick up the phone and call in. And we have in like onboardings or even demonstrations when we're bidding out to partners, new potential, we've actually even called our help desk and somebody answers.
Yep.
Of course, then they think we're using a special.
We've had them test us
Oh,
A
because
little beat of sweat every once in a while.
like,
please answer.
Please be there, Danny. We got one guy just sitting at the office waiting for those
We have a
calls.
special
They
number
know when
we're
our meetings
calling.
are, right?
Right.
So
But we've seen that. We have gone and met with a partner, right? Potential partner. We've come back to the office and we're all sitting around talking, and all of a sudden you see our call log,
Yeah.
and you see that person calling in, and then our text like, "Hi, yeah, okay,"
then
and they're like, "No, we were just testing something." You hear them talking to them, and they're like, "Okay, well, thanks for calling in," and you're like, "Wow." They actually tested it, and that's not one time.
Right.
They call you see them calling at different times just to see, maybe 2-3 times. But that's a great. It's like checking
and
somebody's
good for
references.
them.
Yep.
Good
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
Good. They should.
Right.
They should, yeah.
Because obviously they didn't do it with their existing MSP. They
Right.
wouldn't be unhappy with them.
Correct. And I'll tell you the other thing too about, we got back to what our partners are accustomed to from an SLA standpoint. That's another reason why sometimes, when our sales department will come over and be like, hey, we got this down the pipeline. And I'm like, well, we can't take this within 30 days because
Yeah.
guess who's suffering?
Yeah, our current partners.
Correct. Like
The people that we've put time and effort into, and they put it into
we
us.
want it to be. We want to be fair to them.
Yep.
We want to give the new partner the best onboarding experience they can.
Right.
And I'm sorry it's going to take 15 days to get there, but that's just where we're at.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
We
it's
talk
going
about
down
15
that
days
day
like
that
it-
we show up, you're getting all of us.
Correct. Yep.
Talk
We're not worried about anything else. We're actually coming in and we're going to take care of you and throw you into the mix with everyone
Yeah.
else.
Yep.
We talk about 15 days like it's a long time. too.
Correct.
Like it's, most places
grand
you
scheme
hear,
of things.
most places you hear are like, oh, well, it's 90 days, if not 120 days before
Yep.
I can get my windows installed in my house.
100%.
Yeah, that's true. You got to get something done today, like externally for your house.
Plan it out.
You can
Yeah.
sign for it, but you don't see it for a bit.
Yeah, it'll be delivered in 6 months
Right.
before your deck actually gets built.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that. So
It's just a part of providing the best customer
It is.
service for our
And that's what they're
partners that we
doing.
can.
and that's what that person's doing for
Yeah.
you at your house. You know, whether they can make it in a day or in 30 days.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'd rather be up front and say,
yep.
it's going to be 30 days rather than it's going to be a week. We'll get you going in a week. And then
And
you're
then
like,
postpone.
this isn't good.
And where it's not a good experience, you don't want to slam somebody into place. 'Cause, I mean, IT systems are not easy to integrate into, right? We walk into a place, right? Our first time's in. Yes, we have our check sheets. We have all the standards that we want to comply with. And then they give us a piece of paper and it's got a few passwords on it.
Right.
And at that point,
It's like starting a new job.
it is. We have to figure it all
Right.
out. There's not a run book. We never get a run book that says this is how
Right.
all the systems are integrated and all this stuff. We have that today, right? Because we've integrated them into our system, so we have all that stuff. But very rarely even if we're taking it from another MSP, they won't provide us that information, and I understand why. But they'll give us the passwords, and we have to
Right.
go back. We have to go in. And we
the
have
puzzle
to figure it
together.
out. Yeah, you do. You start here, and you start moving your way back, and sometimes we miss stuff. I mean, we're human, right?
Correct.
And then our tools start going out there, and all of a sudden they start discovering something. We're like, well, you guys, said you guys only had 10 of these, and we're finding 25. Why is that discrepancy? And all of a sudden you start finding out, oh, we got this going on. We had these in a closet, and you're like, okay, and we can help drive
Start
the business.
peeling the onion
Yep.
back, right?
Yep.
And that goes back to like what you said earlier, like the cost and the budgeting and things like that. There's not only an associated cost savings with going with an MSP or an ITSM, right? There's a huge savings because you get more than one person at a fraction of the cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if we need 17 hands on deck for one big problem that we're having, which we've been known to do way back in the day, all 17 or 22 people go. It's not, you only got 4 people on your team.
Or
we'll
you
send
only
them
have
all.
one internal IT person and they're
Or
on
you got
vacation.
one, right. Or, so you get more than one person who.
Right.
So there's the benefit of that, and then it's budgetable because it really changes unless you add services or.
Sure.
you know.
Well, and that's a big thing right there, the budget, right? To be able to look at it and say, these are my fixed IT costs, right?
Right.
So I at least have an idea that everybody here, Monday through Friday, between 8 and 5, is going to be able to get help for this cost. And I can budget for that. And now you guys come in after you're kind of already, been in there 60, 90 days, and now you're building that hardware budget, right? And then you're also building into that your ISP budgets, right? And phones, and you
Yeah, it's
start
everything.
bringing,
It's
you're
not
bringing,
just our
yeah,
service.
yeah,
And
you're
that's why I
bringing
think
it
it's
all
really
together,
cool that
and
you
then you
guys
have services in your budget for IT. This is equipment, and you're putting people, and you are doing the same thing. You guys are putting people on these rotations, right? In 3 years, these 10 machines have got to go because they're yellow, right, in your little
Right.
system. These green ones are good, but then there's a couple red ones, and we really need to start budgeting for that stuff too.
And it helps. That just helps with that whole that lack of planning. That
Yeah.
lack of planning.
It's not a surprise.
Which is what Nate and I do now for our partners is we plan that for you so that you don't have that huge capital expense 1 year and then you do a 5-year rotation. You've got that huge capital expense again in 5 years.
Right.
We want to roll that out over the 60 months.
Yep.
Maybe do 2 a month. Maybe we do a few early. Maybe we do a few late. But it's still better than having to call and have a talk with someone and say I need 50,000 versus 2 every 2 months.
Yeah, it's having that rolling budget
Right.
makes such a difference. It's funny is having you guys on staff. We never used it for ourselves until recently, and all of a sudden we were like, "Hey, we have this great tool, right? We're not managing our own equipment," and it's like we started eating our own cake, and we now
I have a meeting with Adam to
Right.
go over
Yeah.
our company.
Yeah, go over our own IT
Right.
budget for what we need systems-wise here because we have to buy computers too.
Yep.
I mean, our techs, we want them to have the best stuff out there possible.
If we're doing it for our partners, we should be doing it
Yeah.
for ourselves.
And it didn't dawn on us at first. We're kind of in the trenches doing the work, right? And you're like, hey, we have this great tool. We should use it internally. And it has. It's made a difference for us. I mean, our guys have some great hardware these days.
Yeah.
No longer are the days of we're trying to run down the micro center and buy the.
Or I just don't want to have to buy 10 at one time.
Well, that too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other
That's the
thing.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to spend?
We want to practice what we preach,
Correct.
not preach and then go do other things.
Yeah.
We
I
don't want
don't-
to be going to Best Buy for our own folks
Yep.
and then telling our partners that you should do this.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't want my techs coming up to me with their laptop like I could really use a new
It's their
laptop.
toolbox.
Correct.
And it can't be full of sporks.
Yeah. If their computers are not working, they
We're in trouble.
they're in trouble, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They cannot do their job. They
It'd
cannot
be like
answer
a
the
plumber
phone.
coming with no tools.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Just a crack.
Or a bunch of
But
sporks.
Just the, so, I don't know. What else do you guys think? I mean, I think we've covered a lot. Customer satisfaction, SLAs, budgets. You know, we've in the other episodes talked about the infrastructure, just overall, you know, touched on cybersecurity. Is there any big other outlying issues that we do for partners to keep them secure, keeping them in standards that we may not have covered?
Oh, what we need to do, we got to work on our T's.
Or what?
Our T's for the next episode.
Oh, the T's. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What's
episode 4. That's the big
really
one.
where it all started.
Yeah, it does start at episode 4. It does. I mean, that's really where it comes together, I think. I mean,
That's the best.
if you made it this far and you're ready, I mean, episode 4 is just going to be,
Are you guys like plugging the next one?
yeah.
Okay. I need
So-
crayons sometimes.
Thank you guys again for, you know, visiting with us here.
Simon, I like to do drawings.
I know drawings. Print
So,
ends.
episode 4, it'll be next episode. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other places that you can find people, social media. I mean, we're on LinkedIn and everything. And so thanks again for coming, sitting down with us. Maybe we'll get some coffee next time, or maybe we just move right to the whiskey, right? Episode 4, that's the teaser.
Yep.
We're moving to whiskey. So thank
See
you
you then.
guys.
Thanks.
Adios.